I am here today with one of the hardest lists of the year to make. Welcome to my top 10 fiction reads of 2021. Welcome back, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Katrina and I make bookish content here on this channel every week and then movie reviews here at the weekend. In the description box you will find all of my social links, including my blog and my Goodreads, where I have reviewed most of these books that I am going to talk about here today. Yes, we have my top 10 fiction reads of 2021. Normally I would divide this into adult fiction and YA fiction, but I just felt like I wanted to bring it all together this year. I don't know if it's because I've read slightly less than usual, or I've read less YA and more adult than usual, but we just have one single list. And make sure you are subscribed and hit that notification bell, because if you haven't already seen it, I will have my top 10 non-fiction reads coming up for you very soon. I'm also going to be posting my review of 2021 in general, which will tell you my favourite book from each month and sort of important bookish moments from those months as well. I always really enjoy making that blog post and video. I find it very nice to reflect back. But let's talk about top 10 fiction reads. I have a couple of standalone videos or author interviews for a few of these as well, which is very exciting. So let us talk about The Heights by Louise Candlish. Yes, I did buy myself a signed physical copy, so I have this to add to my collection. This was her 2021 thriller, property psychological thriller that Louise Candlish does so well. He thinks he's safe up there, but can he ever be safe from you? And then additional tagline: it's time to confess what you did up there. What happened in the Heights? What did happen? One of the best things is him being up there, which makes no sense at all, since you know he's been dead for over 2 years. You know this for a fact because you're the one who killed him. I absolutely love the way this book is structured. It is a multiple narrative and it is a multiple timeline. So I do think that this one would be best not in audio, because I think it would be really hard to keep track of in audio. I did this one in ebook and I obviously have this physical book, but I just adored this one. And of course I will make sure that everything is linked in the description box that you need, all the information and buy links for these, because they are my top 10 fiction reads of 2021. Very exciting. So I highly recommend this one. If you haven't read Louise Candlish before, get on it, because I have loved everything that she has put out so far. Then we have another physical copy of a book that I have here, but I also have a whole standalone review of. This one is On a Night Like This by Lindsey Kelk. No surprises here. We are a fan of Lindsey Kelk on the channel. I have a whole Lindsey Kelk playlist, so I will leave that linked for you, as well as my review of On a Night Like This. Anything can happen if you just take a chance. Get ready for a light night like no other. This is a sort of Cinderella type of retelling. We do have a very glamorous ball and we do have to get there on a very glamorous yacht, and there is a little bit of Christmas in this one. And so if I haven't pitched it for you with that description, there is also a lot of humour in this book. I laughed out loud reading this one multiple times, and I read it in 2 big chunks, and that at this time of year for me is saying something. It really is saying something. And this is my beautiful signed edition here as well, because Lindsey Kelk did manage to squeeze in a couple of book events here in the UK, which is kind of almost crazy to think of right now given where we are. But yes, On a Night Like This by Lindsey Kelk, definitely on my top 10 of the year. These are in no particular order, as always. I feel like I should have said that at the beginning, but my lists are always just, is 10 that I liked. We're not going as far as ordering them, never ever. Then we do have a YA college-aged book. We have Fresh by Margot Wood, which is one that I read after struggling to read quite a lot, and I sat down and I read this and I couldn't put it down. It made me laugh. Our main character goes off to college. She is a freshman. hence fresh, and the red solo cup at the top there. And it's a coming of age type of thing. We have a bit of an identity crisis. It isn't all that she expected it to be, as so many of us go off to college and find out, go off to university and find out. And that first term, that first semester, always an eye-opener, and semester 2 comes along and you're like, oh, what did I do last semester? So definitely highly recommend this one. Margot Wood is just so funny, and her writing is so funny, and she deals with some, fairly serious topics in this one, but in a humorous way and through the eyes of this college freshman, and I just loved it and highly recommend it. I feel like I've not seen enough people talking about this one here on BookTube or over on Bookstagram. So yeah, really recommend it. Grab yourself a copy. You will have a good time. Trust me, you will have a good time. Then we have one where I did an interview with the author, and this is The Moon Over Kilmore by Carmel Harrington. And this one is, again, we have a sort of dual timeline type of thing, and we have the 2 settings of Ireland and New York City, which, again, if that doesn't sell it to you, I don't know what does. I love the difference in these 2 places, but the fact that we've got these bodies of water involved in both of them. I think there are enough similarities, and this book is about sort of found family and families being what we make it, as opposed to necessarily what we are born into. There are some amazing friendships in this one, and there are some lovely groups of friends in both of the timelines. I would love to go back and read this one for the first time, because it will benefit from a reread, absolutely, but the revelations in this one are just fantastic. It's just so well written, and it has such warmth and such heart. And definitely go and check out my interview with Carmel if you haven't already seen it, because she goes into a little bit more about the sort of inspiration behind what she wrote in the book, as well as some information about the setting and how she came to write about these different settings. But yeah, I loved it, and I haven't read enough of her books, and I need to try and change that, and maybe 2022 will be the time to change that. Let's see, who knows. Then we have one that I adored. I can, when you've read a book and you can picture exactly where you were reading the book, that is the case for so many of the books on this list, but I just remember reading this one next to the pool in my building in Denver and laughing out loud, and there being other people at the pool, and they're probably thinking, why she sat there by herself laughing. But the tagline for this one is 2 friends, 2 decades, 1 big mistake. So this is Bad Choices by Lucy Vine. Lucy Vine is another author I just find absolutely hilarious. I've not managed to meet her in person yet, but I'm sure it will happen. And this one, yeah, it was just so relatable, but so funny. And the fact that it takes place over 2 decades, if you like that structure of like one day where we sort of revisit people at a similar time, year on year on year. And it's amazing because you get to see these characters grow and change, and you get to see why they're growing and changing in a certain direction. And I loved it. Again, it's one that would be amazing to reread again for the first time. And I also love the fact that our characters in this novel are not just straight and white, and the whole cast of characters is diverse, and they're not just diverse for the sake of being diverse. They're diverse because they're the people that they are. And I really love that. And Lucy Vine, I will read everything that she writes, and she just makes me laugh out loud. And some of the things, when you're reading a character and you're like, I would say that, I would do that, that would be my reaction to that. I have that an awful lot with Lucy Vine characters and Lindsey Kelk characters, to be fair. But yes, Bad Choices, again, I think it's an underrated book. I've not seen that many people talking about it, but it's made my top 10 fiction list of 2021. So there we have it. Again, I feel like I haven't seen an awful lot of people talking about quite a lot of these books on my list. So there we go. We have The Best Is Yet to Come by Katy Collins. I talked about this one on my channel. This was an early read in the year for me. When you feel invisible, friendship can offer something of hope. I'm not sure. My image is very blurry, so I apologise if it's a little bit blurry. At least you can see the title and the cover. But this one is cross-generational uplift. We have an unlikely friendship, and the connection is that both of these people feel sort of at a weird place in their life and feel lonely, and it's not necessarily through choices that they've made. And I just adored getting to know these people, and again, it's like a dual narrative. It's just got heart, it's got warmth, it was a little bit surprising, and I could definitely relate to the new mum in this book, even though I'm not a mum myself. And so if you are put off reading because you think you can't relate to either of the characters, I could relate to... I am not the same as either of these characters, but I could definitely relate to both of them. And again, I feel like I've not seen enough people talking about this one. It's adult fiction, it's just fantastic, and yeah, it's that cross-generational friendship, and it's definitely uplit. So yeah, if that's not enough of a recommendation, I don't know what is. Then we are switching to something that I feel like I should have checked whether I made a standalone video about this one, because I do often make standalone videos about this author's books. Let me check. I did. I planned ahead for this, clearly. If I've made a standalone video about an author's book, clearly their book needs to be on my list. This is The World at My Feet by Katherine Isaac. I just so enjoyed this one. But what if a secret could take it all away? So yes, we have secrets galore in this one, and we have a character who is an influencer, and that is absolutely fantastic. But I will leave my standalone review linked up above for this one, so you can see just why this made my top 10 fiction reads of 2021 list, because it was wonderful and I really enjoyed it. Let's move on to a YA book now, something that's definitely YA. This is Admission by Julie Buxbaum. Lie, cheat, bribe, all of the above, and that is like an SAT answer paper thing. So this is to do with the college admission scandal, but what is wonderful about this one is that it takes both sides of it. This comes kind of after that first wave where, you know, celebrities went to jail or not, as the case may be. This is like a second wave of college admission scandals, and we have a local newsreader in the scandal again, but it talks about what happens to her, but it also shows us it through the eyes of her daughter, who was the one getting into college, or not, as the case may be. And we come at it from different timeline directions and sort of meet in the middle, and I just thought it was just so well written. Once I started this one, I absolutely could not stop. I could see what was going to happen. I could see who was going to get hurt, and I just enjoyed it so much. But it really looks into both sides of the story, which I feel like those celebrity stories didn't. We just heard about it from the celebrity's point of view, and so the fact that this one does look into how it affects the entire family, I adored it. And I read it so early on in the year, but I haven't been able to stop talking about it and stop recommending it because it was just absolutely fantastic. Then we have another YA pick to add to the list. We have As Far As You'll Take Me by Phil Stamper. I loved Phil Stamper's debut last year, and so I was really excited to read this one when it came out. I believe it was February in the US and March in the UK, or I may have got that one the wrong way around, and I can never remember which cover this is. I think this is the US cover, but this one is somebody who travels on a school trip over to the UK and the adventures that he has there. And I always say, if somebody can get me a little bit emotional about the arrivals hall at Heathrow Terminal 3, then they've done a really good job. Now, I know I have come through there since then, and it was an emotional time, and it was delightful because there was nobody else there, which was fantastic. But I just love this one. It's a journey of self-discovery. It's just wonderfully diverse, and it paints a really interesting picture of somebody who's not been to London before. being in London, and I really, really enjoyed that one, and that is why it made my top 10 fiction reads of 2021 list. And then I had to pick one from my Christina Lauren read that I did early on in 2021. I have videos talking about this one, so I'll make sure to link those, because I buddy read Christina Lauren novels with the lovely Hayley, and we talked about them. I talked about them. It was just a fun time had by all, and this was after reading Holidays basically this time last year and going, why have I not read more Christina Lauren? So I picked my favourite, and I feel like this was also Hayley's favourite. If you've seen the live show that we did, you will already know this one, but this is Roomies by Christina Lauren, and this one is set, as you can see from the lovely cover, in New York. I think that this is the best cover. There are other covers of this one, but this one just represents the book so well. And we have a character living in a midtown apartment, and it explains how she's able to afford to live there. So it's not like a friend's situation where they live in these fancy lofts but don't do an awful lot of work. We have the explanation of how she can afford to live there, and we've got just so many amazing tropes in this one that I just adored. I listened to it on audio. It was a fantastic audio, and it just really transported me to New York and transported me into this world. And I enjoyed most of the Christina Lauren novels that I read this year, and I'm really pleased that I did choose to read them, and I did choose to do that kind of read-along readathon, and yeah, this one came out on top for me, so it was why it made it onto my top 10 list of fiction reads in 2021. Very exciting. So there you have it. I could have added so many more books to this one, but yeah, I decided just to do fiction this year rather than adult fiction and YA fiction, and I'm quite pleased with that, because it meant that it was sort of easier to put my list together. Always hard to narrow it down. But yeah, let me know in comments what made your top 10 fiction lists for the year. I have given you a slight breadth of genres there, but obviously there are genres that I do not read at all, and so we've kind of gone thriller, rom-com. That's where we're standing. But yeah, let me know what made your lists. Make sure you are subscribed and hit that notification bell, because I will be talking about anticipated 2022 reads. I feel sure that there will be more from all of the authors that I've talked about on this list in 2022, because I will come back to these ones again, definitely. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will be back with more bookish content for you very soon, including my anticipated 2022 releases. So make sure you are subscribed and hit that notification bell. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you with my next video. Thanks for watching.